literally struggling to go live, and for the past 40 minutes, yeah, for the past 40 minutes I've been trying to get it, but I can see people are coming on. So I'm new on YouTube live, I'm not quite familiar with it, so we're gonna try and make this work. I might not have a long time because we are load shedding. We're scheduled to load shed at 8, and once we load shed, we all understand that we immediately lose signal. So kindly let me know if you are here. I think I made it unlisted instead of public, hence people were not seeing that I'm live. My sincere apologies. That's what happens when you are new on on a system. So I'm learning how to use YouTube. But thank you, Tenju. I see you here. Thank you, Ndumi. I see you are here. So yeah, give me a shout out to say hi, Togoza Koko. It's me. I'm from the UK. It's me. I am from South Africa, Johannesburg. I'm from Bumalanga. I am from Eastern Cape. I am from KZN. Yeah, we've got somebody from Zimbabwe. Yes, thank you, Tawanda from Zimbabwe. Excited. So we here. Yeah. So we're gonna learn how to do this. And the reason that I am here and instead of Instagram is some of the feedback I've gotten from people is that Gogo, some of us don't have Instagram or we don't know how to get to Instagram. So I thought YouTube, it's easily accessible. So some of the streams we're gonna move them from Instagram to YouTube. I see Tando from Germiston. I saw somebody from the UK, somebody from Port Elizabeth. It's quite exciting. So today's topic is African spirituality. And you are allowed to ask me questions because this is a space where I'm going to shed some insights, some enlightenment, some teachings, some truths, and please understand that I am teaching from my own experiences. So my experience that I lived as a sangoma, that I lived as a spiritual healer, because I don't only use ubungoma to heal, I use other modalities as well. I'm a Heal Your Life teacher. I'm also a systems relationship coach. I was trained by Ox Organizational Relationship Systems Coaching, Togoza Tuli from Cape Town. So I'm quite excited. So we are here, we are coming, and it's a space of love and light. So the tone we bring here, even when people ask us questions, is to be compassionate, to be empathetic, and to be kind. And most importantly, to show love, because we understand how sensitive and how complex issues of spirituality could be. Spirituality, it's a personal thing because it's about an inward journey of self-realization, self-actualization. It's a journey of really trying to move you to a divine purpose, a place and a space of fulfillment, a space of understanding self. And we understand that who is this self we are speaking to? We are speaking to human beings, but these human beings are spiritual beings who are having a human experience, and that we are having a human experience. So in our humanness, we've got things that are called identity. So my teachings are mostly around the African identity, because that identity is a lived experience of mine. And when I teach about spirituality, I embed it in African spirituality. We also understand that Africa is the cradle of humankind. This is where all forms of life were created. So in a nutshell, it also makes us globally African in our essence. And that's why these teachings are also universal. Yes, it's Coco Dineo, aka Karanga Queen. And when I found out about my Karanga lineage, it made me really understand my connection to my African identity. And that's why I speak African, because that's what I recognize in me, that I'm an African that is geographically placed in South Africa. That in South Africa, then I took on the identity of being birthed by a paternal side and a maternal side that carries tribal identities. But the core that I resonate with is that of being an African. And I think for me, the core of recognizing that I'm African makes me very one with my fellow Africans, irrespective of where they are geographically placed. And when the more I work at my Africanness, the more I embed myself in my Africanness, it's the more I can see myself as a universal being. But we also understand that when it comes to African spirituality, there's been a lot of demonization, there's been a lot of dehumanizing of the identity, that which is African, by our colonizers, by those who wanted one particular race to be supreme, and others become beneath. And we are realizing that the movements and the noises and the issues that are emerging, like the Black Lives Matter, like women's life matter, like South Africans' life matter, Africans' life matter, gay people's lives matter. It is a call for us to go back and connect to our humanity. But sometimes it is difficult to go back to we are all human beings when we are not all equal human beings. And in my teachings, I try speak to history, and in that history, I articulate some of the historical injustices that have made other humans less human and others more human than others, because of systems that have been put in place to oppress another human and favor other. And in this instance, issues such as patriarchy, issues such as white supremacy, issues such as xenophobia, issues such as homophobia, those isms and schisms are things that in my teachings I speak to, because if we don't address the historical injustices, we don't even get to enjoy our interconnectedness. We don't get to enjoy our collective identity as spirit beings who are having a human experience. And the reason I resonate so strongly to African spirituality is that it's very universal, because the core of African spirituality is teaching us that as human beings, we want to live a moral, not a right, because in the spirit world, there's no right or wrong. It is what it is. But a moral life that our existence, even though it ceases to exist when the body departs from the spirit, but the spirit goes to continue to live and be one with divinity, Ramasedi, Muzimu, Umvelinqangi, God, Allah, whatever that name you have for divine source. And that's what African spirituality actually teaches us. It's that we want to live well while we are still in the flesh, so that our existence can continue, so that our loved ones can continue to be one with us, so that our loved ones can call upon us, so that we can continue being gifts into the lives of our loved ones, even though we don't have a physical body. And that's what I love about it. And it also says, connecting to us, there are many ways and many paths. Hence, it's very difficult sometimes for me to do what we call Pasha one-on-one, or give definitions and different, give definite definitions to things, because spirituality is very complex. It's not an either or, it's an end. It's I pray and I pasha. I believe in God and I believe in my ancestors. And when you look at the whole ways of beings that have been created by human beings, because religion is man-made, but spirituality is the essence of who we are. Spirituality is understanding our divinity. Spirituality is understanding in our divinity we are one with the divine, and that when we are connected and rooted in that divine self, we are able to actually then be creators or co-creators of our lives. Spirituality gives responsibility back to ourselves. Spirituality empowers us, whereas religion sometimes disempowers us, because it is about control, domination, it is about dogma, it's about an organized system that sometimes tend to exclude rather than include. It's about seeing right and wrong, and it carries a lot of judgment. Whereas spirituality looks at how somebody does things differently, even though how they do it you don't subscribe, but you can have compassion and you can have understanding that even when you give your own input, you give it from a place of love and a place of curiosity, a place of how come versus why versus no, so that's what spirituality does. It cultivates the spirit of love, and the essence of creator is love. And I also believe that some of the most incredible spiritual teachers, your Buddha, your Moses, your Jesus, when they came, they were here to actually teach us how to be one with our divine self, how to bring out the God in us in order for us to see God in other people, because you cannot see other people as great, you cannot see other people as love, you cannot see other people if you don't see yourself as such, because how we see and how we perceive other people is also a reflection of ourselves. So a lot of people project to us because their own perceptions of their self is quite distorted. And what I've learned as an African child is that when this is the cradle of humankind, when we speak of Africa, we speak of Mother Africa, meaning all forms of life were actually formed in this continent. We were incubated, we were nursed and nurtured and groomed and birthed in this continent. And if you look at where Africa is placed also on the map, it's right in the center of the world. It's geographically placed in the center. That means that that's our heartbeat. That is the core. If you look at the vegetation of Africa, you see how the potency and the presence of nature really is present in the continent. So that definitely tells the story on its own. That tells us of a narrative that not many historians wants to capture, because historians also in their capturing of stories, it's wanting to continuously perpetuating stereotypes that leave us segregated, that leaves us separated, that leaves and cultivates and incubate a spirit of hatred, because in that way one can always seem and be seem to be superior, and others could be made into slaves and others could be made into masters. So spirituality says to us we are masters of our destiny. That's why even as a sangoma, I don't believe that our ancestors are imposing their ways on us. I believe ancestors call us because in them calling us, they're actually reminding us of soul agreements that we made before we even manifested in the physical form. So when experiences of misfortune or suffering come into light, those are the reminders of that we have forgotten ourselves, because the minute we embodied the flesh and we got some conditioning from our environments, from our parents, from our upbringing, we tend to forget why we have come. We have come at this time because we are all called. But of course, very few are chosen. And what we mean is that we each occupy a particular field of practice in order for us to make a world and the earth that we live in a better place. So as Africans, so let me take it back to Africans. You are welcome to ask me questions. I did say this is going to be a Q&A. So it's just not about me teaching from the things I would like to share, but also ask me questions in terms of the things you're trying to understand, because we need to decode the language of African spirituality. We understand there is not a lot that we have access to that has been documented. Our ancestors taught mostly orally, and whatever that was documented was also stolen and translated and changed and altered again to continue being used as a tool of control and domination versus as a tool of enabling. Because you know there's a lot of things in African spirituality, when we look at how our systems were ran, when you look at how we gathered in the circle, because we understood that energy flows in the circle. We understood that all of us carried equal amounts of power, and that for me to be and for me to thrive, I need you, and for you to be and for you to thrive, you need me. Energy would always go around, and energy was infinite, and energy was always passed on from one person to the other. I hope we're following each other. I hope you are listening. Sangoma mina I baby slave, and I use that because it actually helps me connect, because some of the sharings that I share, some of them are new to me, because as I speak them for the very first time, and I hear them for the very first time. So as much as you are glued and you are listening, but I'm also glued and I'm listening, because my cognitive mind does not have a lot of data around African spirituality, but my spiritual mind has a lot of intelligence. And as somebody who's been called to be a spiritual teacher, bringing this teaching and awakening Africans in the continent and in the diaspora, and helping them celebrate their Africanness, and helping them be firm in their identity and be unapologetic, because you understand that you cannot ask the world to celebrate something that you are demonizing. You cannot ask other people to affirm and validate that which you've invalidated for yourself. So it starts with you, and that's the essence of spirituality. When you take responsibility for that, your ability to respond to how the world perceives you becomes stronger, because you need to change the narrative. We are the change that we are seeking. That's what one of the spiritual teacher, Mahatma Gandhi, articulated in his movement. So I take from all the spiritual teachers what I see that is going to serve my spiritual journey, that is going to serve me and fulfill me, that is going to gift me insights as I teach as well. I don't see one as superior. I don't see one as above the other. I see them as all human beings who came to have a spiritual experience and give us teachings and give us sharings of how we can be one with God, because we are all expressions of God. We are like the rays of the sun, which the sun is umvelinqangi. You know, we are the rays of unomkhubulani, the moon. So we understand that we all carry seeds of creator in us. And if we are not connected to creator, therefore the seeds that we carry will not be planted. And if we don't plant those seeds, they create something in us that's a discomfort that sometimes manifests as a disease. I saw some questions. They go very fast on YouTube. Like I said, I'm new to doing YouTube live. Maybe sometimes I'll take questions prior, ask people to write me questions, then I can come with prepared answers. So Togoza, what does the color red symbolize in a vision? So I don't know when it comes, either it's just a red, because everything has a deeper meaning when you interpret it within a context. Because I can look at red as umgoma, as a color of power, as a color of warriorship, as a color of fire energy. Because abangoma were red, especially abangoma abayenza isinguni nesindawo. Because umguni uyidlozi that was once a warrior, that went to fight for the health of their community, that went to fight for justice, that went to fight for morality. So red is a fire energy. So we understand the power of fire is twofold, like any other thing. Everything carries a light and everything carries a shadow. So with the light of red is that it burns out of fire, it burns out the old in order for the new to emerge. But we also understand that the shadow of red, it could be overpowering when we don't use it in a manner in which that when we apply the redness, are we doing it for the collective or are we doing it for the individual? I usually see sangoma cloths and I see them in my dreams. People who are gifted. I'm gonna do a stream on the most common dreams that gifted people have. So how do you know that your dreams are an indication of being called to become a sangoma? I'll do that stream another time, but this is just it's a general conversation on African spirituality. That's what I just want to be general. Then I'll do a stream of common dreams that gifted people have. That will be next stream. You dream of a white person and water. What does it mean? Let me speak to that. So dreaming of water symbolizes a lot of things. Water is life, because 70% of our bodies are made of water. And we also understand that everything else needs water to grow, including us. And we understand that I think a human being cannot go 3 or 4 days without water, they will die. That's how important water is. But you can go for days or even months without actually consuming food. But water is also an embodiment of divinity, meaning creator, because in its nature it is flowing, in its nature it is healing, it is nature, in its nature of light as well, shows abundance. So when you are dreaming of water, it could be you needing to connect to the energy of flow. You need to connect to the energy of feeding yourself nutrition. You need to connect to the energy of cleansing, because water cleanses, water purifies, water enlightens, water eliminates, water also grows and waters things to happen. So when you are dreaming of water, it could be an invitation to either connect to the energy of the abundance of water. The color of water is very important. So if the water is clear and is clean, it means connecting, clearing. It means you need to be in flow. It could also be an invitation of you need to go for a cleansing. And if the water is muddy, angolile, it's dirty, it could symbolize that somebody is trying to tamper with your flow of life. Somebody is trying to tamper with your abundance. Somebody is trying to tamper with your well-being. Somebody is trying to tamper with your health, because you cannot consume dirty water. So it's an opposite. When the waters are turbulent, it could mean that because you are not connected to divinity, therefore things are gonna become turbulent. Storms, floods can be, turbulent waters. So yeah, just to name a few things. But I'm not speaking of it in the context of gifts. As I said earlier on, I will come and touch about when you dream of water and it as a symbol of being gifted. I'm speaking in terms of general African spirituality. Every year as Africans, we would go and do rituals of cleansing, rituals of purification, rituals of invitation, because we needed to let go of the old to invite the new. And we used water a lot, ocean water, because we understand the power of the ocean has what we call a spirit guardian that looks after that. And that not a lot of people who are playing in the dark or are working in the dark enter sacred spaces like the ocean. So the ocean has much more higher vibrational, positive, healing energy than your rivers, because in the water, the rulers of the water reside in there. Chogoza Koka dreamt of being given chicken white and pink white iswasho. I was never water, but I was scared of water. The dreams are very difficult. What did it mean when one dreams of a white mice? But what is the mice doing? Can I not just answer dreams and do a special stream on dreams? Ngiyacela, beloveds. Dreams are very complex because the context of the dream is very important. And the reason I say that is dreams are very subjective, because it depends on what you were thinking about. It depends on what you passionate about. It depends on what you're hoping and wishing. It depends what you've been doing over the past few months. So I normally ask for more questions in order for me to give a deeper, direct meaning. So can I pause dreams for tonight and just let's ask, like, what is the importance of ritual? Ritual is important because as spirit beings having a human experience, we need to feed the spirit. So as we perform rituals, we are feeding spirit, and we are creating a bridge and strengthening the cord of us as the physical living and the ancestors, because they are one with God. So when we do rituals and we make offerings and appeasements, we are strengthening that relationship, we are strengthening that cord. So when we are asking and we are pleading or we are thanking to the divine, the bridge is there. So the ancestors become the bridge, but the bridge cannot be strong if we don't continuously perform rituals that keep us connected. So are the reds that bring money real or not real? What I've learned as a spiritualist is that just because I don't believe there are reds doesn't mean there are none. So I believe that there's a lot of things that people do that are man-made to fast forward, or to have quick wealth. But we also know the saying that say quick come, easy come, easy go. So you should also understand, beloveds, that certain things, when you do something, when you plant a seed, and we also know about GMO seeds, genetically modified, we understand that some of the lifestyle diseases we're experiencing are because we have genetically modified. So we have fast forward, we have went against the natural cycle of nature. So when you go against the natural cycle of nature in terms of spiritual engagements, it means that you also have to understand that there will be unnatural results or consequences. There will be illnesses, there will be disease that is gonna befall upon you because you are trying to skip certain steps to success by quickly accumulating wealth. You don't want to earn it, you feel entitled to it by using tools like reds, by using istwalo to accumulate wealth. When you do those things, every action has a reaction. So the consequences of going against nature is you then would experience earthquakes, then you would experience turbulence, because you are going against the flow of nature. Because for you to reap a fruit, you need to plant a seed, you need to water it, you need to tender to it, pluck out weeds. So you can't plant 500 rand and expect 50 million the next day. That is not possible, because that is almost like you are playing or gambling. So like like gambling itself, you are gambling, so you are dabbling with life. Then expect that whatever that it is that will come out of that, you will also stand by it. A lot of people who use a method of quick rich schemes that have to do with tampering with the spirit world, the consequences are some of them would lose their loved ones. So is money that important that you are going to sell the lives of your loved ones so you can live a material life? Because it's about quicker material accumulation, because wealth is end. And when we understand wealth and riches, because riches are material, but wealth is understanding that in your essence you are abundant, then is what do I need to do to continuously be in the flow of abundance? And it's not wanting to cut corners, it's not wanting to not want to climb the mountain, because if you land on top of the hill and you have not climbed your way up to the top of the hill, you would not know how to stand your ground on top of the hill. You will not know how to remain on top of the hill. That's why when people go up and people come down very quickly. As high they went, single hits, and the next thing you can't release hits anymore, because what you released was not deeply rooted. You did not climb your way up. I hope I'm making sense. You might have to ask your questions more than one time, because as I'm explaining, I'm realizing that YouTube, unlike Instagram, there's no way where I can go back to the question. Gogo, what's the significance of black ends covering an object, particularly a car? So black ends, there's black ends, then there's red ends. So red ends, because they are rare and they're not domestic, because you find them in the forest, you find them in the jungle, and it's wild. So it means that something wild is gonna happen. So normally in African spirituality, ends, when they come into the house, they are an indication of a turbulence that's going, or a misfortune, or a like wildness. So something unpleasantly wild is gonna occur, and in most cases is it's a death. With black ends, because black ends, like I said, they are domestic, like dogs are domestic. So when they are covering a car, I would say to you, "Uibigile na." Did you perform a ritual to thank the car, to name the car, to ask for the car to be utilized for the uses in which it was bought for, to ask that that car actually becomes an enabler and not a disabler, that you are accident free, that you are free of hijackings, that you are able to take care of it as it needs to take care of it? Have you evoked the right kinds of energy? So have you brought your ancestors? Have you asked them to have divine light and protection? So that's what it could mean. Because if it's covering the whole car and you can't see the car, it means that your ancestors might be saying, we are blessing you, we are coming forward, and we are gifting you, but you don't see us. And if you don't see us, the very same things we are blessing you with will cease to exist. I hope I've answered your question about ends. I have asked beloveds to please continue to ask questions. If you've asked a question and I've missed it, repeat it. What's your take on angel numbers and how it does relate to African spirituality? So numbers do relate. So my understanding. So let me speak about my understanding of angels and ancestors. My understanding is that ancestors once had a human experience. So they lived on this planet. They lived on the earth. They lived a life like me and you. Maybe at the time in which they lived, their circumstances and the things that were done were different to the time. But they have had a human experience. Whereas angels are spirit guides that don't and never had a flesh, that God has given alongside our ancestors to protect, guide, and be present in our lives. So when we look at numbers, they've got power because numbers are an indication of symmetries. Numbers are an indication of things that are about to occur. So when we look at the number 3, for example, we understand that it is telling us of the coming and the power of the divine, the 3, because 3 it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Hence, when we perform a lot of spiritual rituals as a bangoma, we the number 3 is important. The lighting of 3 candles, the waking up at 3 a.m. because at that time when there is beginning, middle, and end, it means the energy is quite neutral. And when energy is neutral, when you are praying or when you are partnering around that time, what you are going to evoke will not be tempered with by outside or lower vibrational energy. When it's neutral, it means that whatever that you are going to evoke can move from a place of neutrality to upwards, or it could move from a place of neutrality to discarding, whether you are inviting or you are releasing. At the time of 3, whatever that you are asking will not be tempered with by other energies. If you wake up at 3 a.m., the energy, the energy is in spirit, but the energy is in the physical energy. It's not cold, it's not hot. The temperature is just neutral. Chogoza, is it possible to be Christian and a Dlozi person? Definitely. Let me speak to Christianity. Christianity is a religion of ancestors because even the Bible is based on people who once had a human experience. They don't live anymore. You know, they don't exist in the flesh. So the minute we say God of Abraham, we are calling ancestors. The minute we say God of Moses, we are calling an ancestor. So the problem with Christianity when it was re-brought to Africa and repackaged, because a lot of other scholars say that Christianity is an adaptation of the Book of Enlightenment, the Book of the Dead. We know it, the book that captured. There's many stories that are in the Bible. These are the stories of situations and stories of Africans that they once have had. Then it went to Rome and they repackaged it and they named it and they rigorously said, and they were intentional, and it was a council of men. That's why religion is so patriarchal, because it focuses on man versus on family. It focuses on the individual versus on the collective. So when you're a Christian and you say, is there a conflict? It means as a Christian, you're already conflicted, because the minute you are calling and reading books of people who are dead, you are already appeasing and connecting to the dead. Gogo is having a heavy feet and leg sign as symptoms. I crave a mentor, but I don't. What does the butterfly symbolize in the house? So for me, butterflies symbolize Garanga, because Garanga people are connected to birds a lot. But a butterfly is it's a good omen when it comes into the house. Because remember, butterfly can also be asking the family to go through some type of transition or transformation process, because we know how the butterfly starts as a caterpillar and then becomes a butterfly. It's asking for us to spread our wings. It could be that you are stagnant and you are stuck as a family because you are not connected to the flow, to the fly. You know, there are things that you are needing to come. Bees as well are also of that symbol, but we know that bees are good omen. Animals that we naturally have an inclination to love as human beings, like our love of butterflies, our love. I don't mean hate as in the fear of being stung by a bee. You know, dogs, things that we have a natural inclination that don't bring a lot of aggression and wildness. When they come into our dreams, they become good omens. Even wild animals, because we love leopards, we love lions. We know that they only attack when provoked. We only know they attack when they're hungry. That's what animals do. So when butterflies are coming into the space, it could be that it is connected, because as Africans we carry